Welcome everybody. This is blog number 5. The last blog we did, I misnumbered it when I announced it. Like the last blog, which I'm going to try to be this organized each time, I have a little list of things that I want to talk about. There were a couple of questions asked on, or well, left in comments on the latest video for the dynamic website series, and I wanted to address those because some of them are pretty important, and I'm going to try and make a habit of addressing these questions and such in my vlogs when appropriate. This first one I feel is pretty urgent. If this user is going to go out and buy a whole new version of Dreamweaver, I'm going to open up Dreamweaver here, and what I've done here is I made two new files. One was made as HTML4, which is probably the option that you have in yours, which I think you didn't mention, but I'm pretty sure that's the option you have. I want to note that that option really just changes the default HTML that's spit out on the page. So you don't need to go out and buy a brand new version of Dreamweaver just to have the HTML5 doc type. It's actually easier. All you need, you'll see the differences here. This is an HTML5 document, and this is HTML4. There. You set them side by side, and you'll notice that doc type, this tag here, gets trimmed down pretty much down to just doc type is HTML. So that's how this should look in HTML5, and this metadata here can be trimmed down too. But this is the most important part here. That's the main thing that allows HTML5 to run correctly, because all this really is here is declaring to the browser what type of HTML you're going to be using and how to read it, or how to attempt to read it, either way. So hopefully that answers your question. Just don't go out and buy, although you're using pretty old Dreamweaver, so you might want to upgrade, but you don't have to go out and upgrade just because of that. This is all that matters right here, is this doc type here. So keep that in mind. If we go back to the video, down here, this user's asking about viewing PHP files without having a server to load them on. The answer is no, you cannot view them unless they're on a server, and that is because PHP, as I've mentioned in one of these videos, I think the first one, if not, I also brought it up at the end of the first series, is that PHP is run on the server. If you tried to preview a PHP file on your computer and you don't have a server running with PHP installed, then your browser doesn't know what to do with the PHP. Basically, I actually don't even know. It probably won't even show up. It'll probably be a blank page, if not give you an error. but all it really knows is how to read the HTML. So yes, you do need to have a server, and you can go ahead and use our free hosting, which I'll note, which I've noted a couple times, at least in comments or responses. I have to approve each one of these orders as they come in. That's how I set the software up. It's the default software that came with the package that I'm paying for. And I only do this because I don't want it abused. I want to be able to, you know, see your name. I can tell if, well, I can try to at least tell a fake name from gibberish, or sorry, a real name from a fake name. And then I also ask those simple questions when you're signing up, just to get a human response from you, so I can tell that you're a real person and I'm not wasting this space that somebody else could be using. But because of that, I have to go in and manually check when new orders come in. And so what I try to do is log in at least once or twice and see if there's any new orders each day. So I try to keep the response time to less than 24 hours. I know that's not optimal. Most people want to get going and get started right away, and I feel bad that I don't cater to that. But at the same time, I'm paying for your hosting, so I can't feel too bad. You could always go out and you can go and buy hosting if you want, and it would be instant. You do have that option. I mean, the best solution is to either use the hosting that I provide, buy your own, or just go install Apache from Apache Friends website, which I've referenced before, and I'll bring it up once more here. The ApacheFriends.org, they have a website, or a application called XAMPP, which I have mentioned in previous videos. So I don't want to get into it too deep, but go ahead and download it for whatever version of Windows or Mac, whatever, Linux, whatever operating system you're using. Download it, go through the steps. Generally, wherever you install it, I think by default, if you look here, it wants to install it off your kind of C drive, your your root drive. And so what you'll do is you'd look for wherever you installed it, whether you installed it in the XAMPP folder or you called it whatever you wanted. You look in there, and then you look for the Apache folder, and then you should see inside there a folder called htdocs or something like that, and that is the root of your server. That is where you can put files, PHP files, and run them. But for this particular vlog, I'm not going to go through that whole thing. Another thing I want to note is I have been having some audio issues, and I hate to say that because I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, and I do, and I'm going to bring up funding again, which I'm really sounding like a broken record, but I kind of have to make these videos really quick and sneak them in between family time and work time. And I mean, like right now it's 5:30 in the morning. I kind of slept at my desk, which would explain my the voice right now. So I'm sneaking this video in, and maybe even another, maybe lesson 5 of the dynamic series, before everybody wakes up here. So I don't get a lot of time to set up and test my audio and things like that. And right now, one of my problems is the fan on my main computer is running a little bit higher than normal, and you're hearing that in the background, and it's messing with the audio levels. And so I'm not even using my professional equipment right now, because it's not worth dorking around with that if I'm going to have issues. I'm actually just using my webcam microphone, which we're not even using the webcam right now. We're using my DSLR that I showed you last time. I just have my webcam sitting on my desk, hoping, and kind of pointed away from the computer, hoping that we didn't get a lot of noise this time. But that is the reason why some of the audio sounds maybe a little worse than normal. When I've got everything running right and I have the time, like I did in the beginning, I was using amazing microphones, and I had a nice quiet room and the time to really put effort into it. And you can really tell the difference between the two. You can tell my rushed videos and my well-prepared, as far as quality-wise. It's the difference between sounding like I'm a disc jockey on a radio and just some guy recording with his webcam mic. So, with quality being my goal, since this is what I do for a living, not necessarily audio, but everything digital media is what I do, so it bugs me, and I will work on it, so bear with me with some of the audio stuff. I just know that you guys would probably prefer that I continue to do videos rather than sit here and dork around with audio. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'll take a break and try and make sure the audio is perfect. The last thing I kind of want to talk about today was I've been talking to a couple people. One in particular is a viewer who I won't go into too much detail since I didn't really ask their permission. But we started talking about private one-on-one lessons for his son, and this is a direction I'm trying to go in as we find new ways to fund this site. I don't want to have to run off of donations, because then technically people are they're paying for the tutorials, which are supposed to be free, and some of the other resources. So what I'd like to do is I think I've mentioned this already once or twice, is I want to start pushing one-on-one private lessons, which I can do from the comfort of my home. You don't need to live here in Indiana with me. We can totally do a successful session over Skype, over a Join Me session, things like that. Basically, we share each other's screen or video conference, whatever we have to do depending on what we're talking about. And it could be as easy as you wanting to spend an hour with me to ask about a question, or we can set up an actual regular time that we meet every week, and we can work out the financials of that. I'm still trying to figure that out, making it affordable. As I told this individual viewer, my rate for development when using me and any team that I have with me, which might need a little explanation, but my rate for developing and training is between $80 and $90 an hour, and that's for businesses. And I don't that will continue to be my rate for businesses, but for students and such, my whole goal is to, and when I say students I mean viewers, sorry, is to give you guys an opportunity to learn at a college, not just a college level, but a professional level, without having to pay, your whole life away to a college. You can still do that. You might already be doing that, and using this as an added supplement. But that is my goal. I wouldn't wish the hassle of a student loan on anybody. It can affect you personally, it can affect your family, whoever co-signs on it if you need that. It's a mess, and it goes on forever depending on what field you get in, and what school you went to. I don't want you guys to deal with that if you don't have to. I'll disclaim again that I'm not promoting that you don't go to college. I just feel that sometimes people who can learn this way by watching videos and such like I have can become fully capable of working in the field without having to go and spend anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 to get a piece of paper that says you already know, or that you know something you already know. I will not lie, I did, and I feel like I've said some of this already in a vlog already, so forgive me, I'm tired, but I learned a lot from school, but I didn't learn what I went there to learn. So I don't want to talk down about my college, I went to 2 different colleges, but the last college I attended and the one I graduated from, I went there with the expectation I was going to learn more about the tools, Photoshop and all that stuff, anything digital media, and that really covered video and audio and graphic design and web, kind of the basics of everything. And that's what I thought I was going to come out with, was some, big wealth of knowledge in that field. But what I gained more from college or this particular college, and what I liked about it the most, was most of the instructors, which is what we had to call them at the time. Now it's an actual university. So I think they're hiring professors now, but somebody else may know the logistics behind that one. But anyways, most of the instructors, in fact I think it was a requirement, you had to have been working in your field for something like 4 to 6 years prior to being able to teach at this school. And what that did was, some of the teachers I think just did it as second nature, and some of them did it intentionally, but they talked about industry experience, or experiences with clients and things like that. And between that and learning efficiency, because I didn't learn about the tools as much as I thought, and I don't want that to be confused. Like, I didn't learn really anything more about Photoshop per se than I had already learned on my own, since I had been using it since version 3 as a kid, when it came on like 28 floppy disks. Is how I had to install it. And it was pretty much a glorified version of Microsoft Paint. It just had a better spray can, and I think they had layers is when they introduced layers, was version 3. But anyways, getting on a tangent, but so I didn't learn much more about Photoshop, but what I did learn was concepts such as shortcuts and things like that, using the keyboard in tandem with your mouse. And that's something that a lot of us don't understand, don't realize right off the bat, is how important those kind of combination is. We get on a computer and we think, wow, it's exciting, we have this mouse that allows us to kind of move around and click. And for people younger than me, that might even sound dumb, but for those of us my age and older who started in the days of DOS, and as somebody in another video had mentioned, the Commodore 64 era, and me personally, I had an Atari that it was a hand-me-down from my uncle, who used to he was a software engineer and used to do government stuff. Anyway, the mouse was a great, like, this is awesome, you know. We don't have to navigate around the computer with our keyboard anymore. We can just click on stuff. But once you get into learning your field and learning how to do it efficiently, or this field, whether it be web design or graphic design, video editing, etc., you learn that you almost end up using the keyboard more than you use the mouse. The mouse is more of an extra, extra hand, whereas the keyboard, you can fly around that thing. I've mentioned to somebody, whether in a comment or a message, that if my teaching style with these videos is kind of slow and dry, almost as if, or almost pretty much how I'm talking right now, and a lot of that has to do with being tired usually when I do them, but and wanting to get information out and giving you time to process it. But if you were actually sitting behind me watching me work, or I was trying to show you something really quick here in the room with me, you probably wouldn't learn much. And that's because I don't even have to think about what I'm doing half the time. My hands are doing shortcuts, from the simplest of copy and paste to saving, to uploading, to saving for the web and Photoshop, things like that. I just, knowing the shortcuts and not having to go through the menus, file, open, file, save as, file, save for web, etc., etc., and that was referencing Photoshop. It's just it's like night and day, the difference between using shortcuts and just relying on the mouse. Anyways, that was one hell of a tangent, but that's the kind of stuff I learned from that school, and along with just a lot of stories about clients and projects and things like that, kind of almost like your father or grandfather telling you some wisdom. That's kind of, it was just a lot of wisdom about things to avoid, and such like that. Some of us, me included, will ignore that stuff naturally and go screw up on our own, which I've done a lot of. I've made a lot of mistakes in the business when I was younger, and those things, they hang around, they're residual. I don't actually do a lot of work in town at all. One, because there isn't a whole lot of work. We're not a town that's I don't know, we just don't have that much work for someone like me. We are a bigger city, but we either have major corporations here or we have small mom and pops. There's not much in between, and for someone like me, one, with the experience, and two, needing to support a family, mom and pop shops don't work anymore. I can't afford to take the pay cut to work, in those jobs. And the big corporate, like GM and things like that, they've got their own stuff, their own in-house people in other branches, other parts of the country, things like that. So that's how this city works, and so what I'm getting at is I want to teach people not only how to use the tools, but give insight like I was taught into the business. Allow you to hear some of either my mistakes, or sometimes I won't necessarily wrap any wisdom or some of my wisdom into a mistake. I'll just make it wisdom depending on what the mistake is and whether I want it known. But just know that whether you're stubborn or semi-stubborn like me, and you listen but you want to screw up on your own, that stuff does stick with you, and like I said, that's part of the reason why I don't work in town. It's really easy to screw up your name, and while I don't think my name is too tarnished, maybe in a couple... Okay, so I apparently went on too long and ran out of space on my digital SLR camera. So that's probably a sign that I was tangenting a little too much about school and things like that. So ignore the change in camera and potentially change in audio. But bottom line is, I wanted to bring all that up because that's my main goal with the videos, with even these vlogs, and more importantly, as I try to get the independent or the one-on-one private teaching and group classes going, I want people to understand that's my main goal. I want to teach people how to avoid certain circumstances professionally, how to use the tools and use them efficiently, not just how to open Photoshop and make a pretty graphic, but how to use it and get a job done quick, which ultimately allows you to, may sound stupid, but preserve some creativity. If you spend 20 minutes on something that's becoming frustrating because you're trying to figure out a way to do something, but yet there's a solution that'll take you 2 minutes to do the same thing, that allows you to move on and be creative elsewhere. Save that creative energy, because especially in the graphic design world or other worlds where it requires visual creativity, that you need to conserve it. You can't just, it's not a 9-to-5 thing. You can't just be creative, and sometimes you have to pretend, especially if you're working in a firm and they want you 9 to 5. You've got to pretend that you are, and which leaves you a small window sometimes of creativity when it does come, when the ideas do come to you. So when they do come, I want to make sure I teach you how to get the ideas on paper, so to speak, and by that I mean, in Photoshop, in Illustrator, in whatever we're talking about at the time. But you get those ideas out right away, and then you can move on and take advantage of that moment where that creative, those creative juices are flowing. So hopefully people in the more creative end of things understand what I'm talking about there. The reason I say visual, or I wanted to specify visual creativity, I used to not refer to programming and development and such as a very creative job, but now that I've done it for a living for many years, I realize that it takes just as much creativity to be a good and efficient programmer that it does to be a graphic designer. It's just a different type of creativity. It's a problem-solving creativity. It's similar to using tools in Photoshop or something efficiently. Us programmers, we have to build our own tools, and it takes a lot of creativity to build those tools themselves efficiently, build efficient tools. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know my feelings on creativity and programming. Programmers many times are not the most visually creative people. Many times their websites look horrible, but they work amazing. So you usually need to have a team. You need a visually creative team and a logically creative team. I was blessed with the ability to do both. Neither of which I would say, at some genius God gift level. That's not what I'm saying. I just somehow was able to get the mind to tackle both kind of equally. So I use my my visual creativity and my logical creativity kind of in tandem, and that's helped out a lot. So those of you who are graphic designers and are learning this web development and getting a good handle on it, remember that it's a great ability to have both, and vice versa. If you're a web developer and you start messing with Photoshop from my videos and realize, oh, wow, I didn't realize I could do this. This is actually pretty cool, and comes easy to me. Take advantage of that. It's the difference between you getting a job you can do yourself and or splitting income with another person or team. So before this video or this camera runs out of memory, I will say goodbye. But hopefully you guys got everything you needed from the 2 questions in the video comments about viewing PHP files and how to make an HTML5 document without having to buy a new version of Dreamweaver. I chuckle at you, not to make fun of you. I'm just glad I caught it. So you didn't have to do that. I could see how you could come to that conclusion. So I wanted to make sure I addressed that quickly. So please do keep commenting on vlogs and videos, because I will try to address them. It gives me, I'm running out of things to talk about without me feeling like I'm boring you guys with these vlogs about myself, which is, maybe interesting to some people, but I doubt it. So if I can use these to answer questions and things, that would be great. Really quick before I go though, I want to note that another user had sparked an idea through us talking back and forth. He for one donated, him and the other guy I referenced, so thank you. But also he showed me some things he was working on, and I was very impressed with the design of it, and from under the hood it looked like he was getting a lot of the concepts down, and I want to be able to showcase that. The thought never even crossed my mind I've been so busy. So I'm going to try and work on building something on our site where you can submit either live versions of your site or even snapshots of what you're working on, if you want them to be viewed publicly. Now, no offense to anybody who would submit, I will filter them. As I said, some of us programmers aren't very good at making visually exciting pieces, so as somebody who understands marketing, I need to continue to have visually acceptable work. So if I don't show your piece, please don't be discouraged. I'm going to choose a lot of most of what I choose will be visually interesting. However, if I can figure out a way to showcase the inner workings of something, showcase the what you've done as a programmer, I definitely will. So don't feel like you can't, if you're just a programmer and you don't have a visually stunning website, that you can't submit it either. Go ahead and do it, because if I figure out a way to showcase programmers, I will, because I think that's equally as important. It's just not as easy to excite people with code. So that said, I'll probably talk about that a little more in another vlog, so that we can end this one here without going over the imaginary time limit that I have. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Like I said, I got another couple hours before the family and world in general wakes up, at least here in Indiana. So I'm going to try and knock out less than 5 and maybe even less than 6 for the dynamic website, and hopefully this will keep people tied over for a little while, because without any donations, I have to keep working on my client work and put a lot of effort and focus into that. I've got some things that need to be launched immediately, and so, as I always say, if you have the ability to donate, small or large, $5 to $100 to $1,000, it's $5 is just as important to me as $1,000, as far as the showing me that I'm doing a good job, that people are using what I'm using, because that's not to deter you from sending a $1,000 donation if you have that kind of funding, because that's the kind of funding we need really bad. But the $5 and $10 donations are very, very much appreciated, because I know that most of you that are sending those are students or people trying to build a career in this field, and that's probably not easy for you to come up with. I'm no different. I could be doing very good for a few months with a full plate of clients, and then there could be 3 or 4 months of no work, at which point $5 that's a huge amount of money to me during that time. So I get it. I've been living a freelance life for most of my life, so I understand the value of money. And anyway, I'm tangenting again. So we'll see you guys on the next vlog, which may or may not be tonight. And let's hope I can get some of these videos out before the work week starts. So we'll see you guys. Bye.